I have a lot of animals. I wouldn't say there's
Mhm.
nothing my favorite. I
Mhm.
like the IMG boas because they're all black. I do own some berms.
In this adventure, I speak with Seth from Hurst Reptiles. We discussed his breeding projects, how it all began with a trip to a reptile show, how it morphed into selling cages. Then he turns the tables on me, and I answer a few questions. Buckle up, this adventure begins now.
To the music. All right. Hello, Seth. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Can you introduce yourself to the adventurers?
I'm Seth Hurst with Hurst Reptiles. We do PVC cages, racks, incubators, and also we breed snakes. So different types of pythons and boas.
How would you define yourself as a breeder, as a cage builder, as an enthusiast? What are you?
Both. I do the animals got me into it, and then the cage
Mhm.
business kind of took off. So I built some cages for
Okay.
myself, and then
Mhm.
it kind of just went from there. So
So tell me about that. You built some cages for yourself. What were they for? The snakes or what have you?
yeah. So my dad owned a CNC, and
Mhm.
I designed the cages, and then we started building them, and then
Mhm.
they worked pretty good. So I bought the CNC from him and took it over. So
All right. And so what happened? How did you get to selling cages? I know I have three or four. I have four of them now. So I know how great they are. But how did you get to start selling them?
we just started taking them to shows. I would take
Hmm.
like one or two cages to shows, and people started buying them. And then I got some more tables at shows and started setting up a whole booth. So we were already doing shows for the snakes for a couple years, so it was kind of easy. We were already in all the shows. So
So you started out as a breeder, then this whole sidelight of making cages came about because you were making them for yourself, and then you started making them for
yep,
other people, and then it just took off.
yeah. During COVID, the cage market was so swamped.
Mhm.
Everybody was months and months behind. So I seen
Mhm.
an interest, and I just started building them. So that's really what happened.
That's great. So how did you get into breeding originally?
We went to a I it wasn't planned. We went to a reptile show in Taylor, Michigan to get a tortoise, and
Mhm.
I just seen all the animals. I had snakes as a kid, but no morphs or
Mhm.
anything. And then I started
Okay.
seeing all that stuff, and I started watching YouTube, and it
Mhm.
just took off from there. So,
What kind of tortoise did you get, or did you not get the tortoise?
oh yeah, we got a sulcata. Ended up not keeping it, gave it to a friend, but
Okay. Those get
so
huge. They can be destructive
yeah,
little tanks
yeah,
running around the house.
yeah,
Although they look kind of small when you get them, so that's crazy.
right.
Okay.
It's deceiving for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
What type of snakes do you breed?
I started out with just ball pythons, but now
Mhm.
we own boa constrictors,
Mhm.
sand boas,
Mhm.
ball pythons.
Mhm. Okay.
That's
Do
about
you,
it.
do
So
you breed a bunch of different morphs, or what are your goals towards that?
I've kind of stepped away from ball pythons. I still have a lot. I'm not really investing in them anymore. Just mainly doing a lot of boa morphs and stuff. So more of the pet side on the ball pythons.
What type of boas are you looking to breed, or what's your goal there?
So I have a bunch of albino stuff, all the different strains of albino,
Mhm.
IMG stuff,
Mhm.
just a lot of stuff.
I saw jungle is one of the things I saw on your website. You have that gene somewhere?
Yeah, jungle, motley, IMG stuff,
Mhm.
call albino, sharp albino.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That must take up a lot of space.
Yeah, oh yeah. I just finished my new room. It's 14 by 26, so that'll be full of cages for the boas.
How did you come about that? Is that just something on your property, or?
Yeah, I have a big building that my shop is in, and
Mhm.
the attached garage to our house is
Mhm.
not really used for anything.
Mhm.
So I just converted that into the snake room.
So besides snakes, you breed anything else?
I have a lot of turtles. I
Mhm.
haven't produced any turtles. I have
Mhm.
redfoot tortoises that have laid eggs,
Mhm.
diamondback terrapins,
Mhm.
and alligator snapping turtles. So,
Okay. You keep alligator
yep.
snapping turtles.
Yeah, I have a couple of them. Yeah.
Are you breeding those, or are you just keeping those, or what's the story there?
Uh, it's more of just a pet thing. If they
Mhm.
breed, they breed.
Mhm.
We are gonna do some ponds in our back. We own some land. I'm gonna do
Mhm.
some ponds for the terrapins and the snapping turtles. So probably next season.
I was over at Clint's Reptiles a couple months ago, and I saw his snapping turtle, which is like a puppy, which is not recommended by anyone. But he let my daughter actually touch its tail, and it was pretty awesome.
Mhm.
But that's one in a million, I think, snapping turtles. So
I don't mess with them like that. I just more look at them.
yeah.
So
He said when you pick him up the normal way you're supposed to pick up a snapping turtle, it does try to bite. But if you pick it up the way he did,
yeah,
it doesn't do anything. So seemed a kind of a cool
right.
thing. So what was your first exotic pet?
I had just anoles when I was a kid. That was the
Mhm.
first thing, just like little cheap anoles. And then I had a corn snake and a ball
Mhm.
python when I was probably 10 years old.
And then it kind of took off from there, huh?
Yeah, I didn't have anything for a while. And then
Mhm.
I really wanted to get a tortoise. And
Mhm.
then that's what started.
Mhm.
That was when I found the industry. I didn't
Mhm.
know about the industry before that. So,
Was that your first Taylor, Michigan? Was that your first reptile show that you ever went to, or was that
yeah. Yep, that
okay?
was our first one, which is
Mhm.
the farthest show I've been today. I
Mhm.
didn't know that there was any close shows. Just a quick
Mhm.
Google search, that was the first one that popped up.
Mhm.
So we're in Milan, Ohio, so it's a couple hours to Taylor, but that was the
Mhm.
first show we found.
So that's awesome. So when was that? How long ago was that?
I think it was 2016
Okay.
when I started, and then I started buying snakes in
Mhm.
about Christmas of that year.
Okay.
So that was when I started the breeding stuff.
And so when did Hearst Reptiles start?
I that's when I started buying animals.
Mhm.
I don't remember when we started doing shows. I think it was in 2019, I believe. So it was like 2 years, 3 years.
Okay. What was your first show that you did as a vendor?
There was a show in Findlay. It's actually the Fremont show now, the BRM show. That was our first show. It was when it was in Findlay.
So how did that
But
one go? Did that go pretty well, or
yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, we did it for a few months, and then they moved. Yeah, then they moved to Fremont.
how many shows do you do currently?
Roughly six,
Okay.
six a month, I think.
Okay. Wow. Can you name them?
We do the Taylor show, the Columbus show, Medina show, the Toledo show, the Fremont show. I think that's it.
That's it.
So
Okay. That's great.
I think that's five, something like that.
So you're doing one every weekend? You have any time off?
Normally we have one weekend off.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I guess it's six if you do two a weekend, two every weekend, then you get a weekend off.
yeah. I think it's five. I think there's one Saturday off a month, or 2 Saturdays off a month, and one Sunday off.
Is this your full time job, or do you have something else you're doing?
This is what I do full time now. I quit my job about 2 years ago,
Okay.
and just basically the cages.
Hmm.
The animals aren't really a full time job,
Hmm.
but the cage business is.
Okay.
So that's what took over my full time job.
Great. So the side light from your reptile breeding, which was the cages, turns out to be your full time job. So that's great. That's how some
Yeah,
people, like we get into different things. We get into plants. We get into bioactive bugs, and we get into all the kinds of things, cages and lighting and everything else. And so it kind of is crazy how things go.
yeah. It's crazy. It worked out.
Mhm. So, in your opinion, what would be the ideal reptile show?
The ideal reptile show as a vendor. That's a tough one.
Well, let me ask some questions. When would it start? Early, late,
When would it
middle of the
start?
day?
I think they're pretty good now. I think nine
Okay.
o'clock is a good start time.
Hmm.
If it's super far, I like going to 10, but nine is
Hmm.
easier. Really, the crowd is the key. It's just getting enough people in is the key to me. The venue matters, but it's not as critical as how many people come through the door. Um,
Okay.
the big city shows are normally the better ones, like Cleveland and Columbus. Those are the best two shows, really.
Hmm.
So anything in a metropolitan area is
Hmm.
really key, I think.
Okay. So, how does the venue affect it? Or what is a perfect venue for
Uh,
you?
something with enough space. A lot of the bigger
Hmm.
shows we do, they've got so many tables, it's packed in. I like the Fremont show
Hmm.
space wise. Um,
Hmm.
Cleveland and Medina are a little, or not, yeah, Medina and Columbus are a little bit packed, but
Hmm.
they still make a lot of people come through the door. So,
Right.
um,
So, for our ventures, Cleveland and Medina are the same show. The Cleveland show moved to Medina,
Yes.
so it's the same area, same situation, same owner, but they moved a few years back.
Yep.
So that's why you keep saying Cleveland and Medina interchangeably, because they are interchangeable, because they're the
Yeah.
same show.
I forget it. Yeah, I forget. Yep.
What is the perfect person coming through? Is it when the show is there summer or fall or winter, or is there a time of the year that the shows are better?
I normally do pretty well year round. This year, summertime has been a little slow.
Mm-hmm.
I've really only done shows since COVID, and the COVID market
Mm-hmm.
has been really good. So
Mm-hmm.
we're kind of coming off of that. So we'll see how it keeps going. But normally the winter shows are better. It's fall
Okay.
through spring.
Mm-hmm.
Summer's a little bit slow, but this was the first year I seen any difference.
Okay.
So
So this should be the time of year, since it's September 11th that we're recording this, that you should be starting to get more and more stuff as the rest of the year goes on. So that's great. That's
yeah,
perfect.
yeah, let's hope so. Yeah.
What other attributes of the show are good? Would you say are important?
Oh, the size, enough room to walk around.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, being a vendor, it's hard to get food for lunch. So a
Mm-hmm.
place with a nice food area is nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's really it. The size, the location is pretty key.
Mm-hmm.
But just having for vendors, making it easy to just go through their day easily with
Okay.
lunch and stuff like that. So
Okay.
that's really the key.
Restrooms that are close by, so you don't have to leave the booth for too long. Or how about the price of the show? Does that matter to you? What the people pay, or does it really matter about the volume? I guess probably if the volume is good, it doesn't matter what they pay.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, the table fees don't really matter as
Mm-hmm.
long as it's a good show. I mean, normally it's
Mm-hmm.
not a big concern. So
Do the table fees vary wildly between your five shows, or are they about the same?
they're all within $10 or so of each other. It's not too bad.
What are you up to currently?
I'm working on moving the collection outside to that new room. Like last night, we started moving stuff. I just started doing more baby racks and snake racks in general. Incubators. I started doing incubators about 4 or 5 months ago.
How's that going?
It's all going well. The racks are doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
The breeding's just now starting, so we're starting to feed some stuff up and
Mm-hmm.
get ready to
Okay.
start pairing.
Okay. And are the incubators selling well, or?
Yeah. They sold real hot for a while. I don't ship, so that's the huge thing. I stay pretty busy locally. Every once in a while, I have a week off to just do animal chores, but I think if I shipped, it would be crazy. But I don't. I haven't shipped yet. I think that's the
And your
key.
stuff is so
So,
big and so well put together, it'd be kind of hard to ship it out and have to expect the people to put it back together.
or yeah, either that. Yeah, and they're all sealed. Most cages, when you buy them shipped, they're not sealed, um, so they leak. We could ship if we shipped on pallets, but then you have to have freight. There is some companies that ship complete cages, but it's just to me, I'm already busy enough locally, so it's not a huge concern.
Do you do most of your business at shows, or and have people pick it up at the shows, or what do you do?
Most of the time, it's shows. People meet me at the shows, and then they message me for cages. Facebook is the key. Facebook, that's where I do most of my sales for cages on Facebook. So I do some at the shows, but most I advertise on Marketplace. I do sponsored ads, that kind of stuff. Facebook is really the key.
Okay. So are there no prohibitions on of Facebook for cages?
No, none on cages, only animals. So you have to be careful.
So what are your goals? What would you like to have this happen from this business?
I pretty much done a lot of my goals. Just really at this point, I already have a large collection, almost too many animals. I'm almost starting to downsize a little bit to more refine my collection into higher quality animals or genetically higher quality. The cage business is already more than I could ask. So just staying busy with cages is enough. Really, the only thing I'm looking forward to is just getting new animals to replace genetically.
Do you have people that you trade with, or how do you get the new animals?
It just depends. A lot of my friends produce some. I've been pretty much buying boas lately, so either trading my production or buying, selling. Yeah, so I do a lot of cage trades. One of my friends produces nice animals. I'll trade him a few cages for him or something like that. So that's really the key.
So what's next? I mean, you're moving stuff into this room. You're trying to continue with the cages and refine your breeding. I heard that you were thinking about maybe YouTube or videos.
I'm considering it. Yeah, once my room is set up and everything's out there, I'm considering it. I'm a little nervous about being on video, but I think it'll be worth it. So I have enough animals.
If you record the stuff in advance and put on only what you feel recording, I think my
Right,
experience over the last 2 years of doing this stuff is you start out bad and you just keep working on it
right,
and you keep going and you get better and better. And even if you look at some of the most famous YouTubers out there, look at their first few videos if they left them up. You'll see that they
right,
struggle. They seem to be having a hard time, and even because those are edited videos, so it's it's not perfect.
right.
So no, I encourage you to do that. Think about it. Check out Bill Strand's Reptile Entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think you send me that.
That's a good place to get ideas and ways to do videos and different equipment and what have you. But now you've already got the camera, you've got the computer, you've got the upload link. So all you need to do is start doing it. So even if you just start
Right.
practicing, you just do it to yourself, and then you get a good one. You're like, wow, I got to put that out, and it
Right,
doesn't matter
exactly.
because right away there'll only be 2 or 3 people watching. So your Facebook is what? Is it under Hurst Reptiles or what is it?
Hurst, yep. Yeah, Hurst Reptiles
Okay.
LLC. So
And what's your website?
it's the same thing. Hurst, yep, HurstReptilesLLC.com. We do have animals posted on the website. They're
Mhm.
not all up to date. I try to keep them up to date, but it's never 100% accurate.
Do you ship out the animals or not as well?
I did during COVID. I've kind of slowed down on
Mhm.
shipping. I haven't been posting much. Yeah, I haven't sold many animals through the website out of state, so most of the time that people pick them up. So I have sold a few, but not as many um, as I could be.
So anything else that you want to tell everybody about?
Not really. We definitely got more time if you want to ask more questions, but I don't have anything really off the top of my head.
So what would be your favorite reptile if you could own any reptile?
Turtles are my main thing. I don't
Mhm.
own a lot of. I have own a decent amount of turtles.
Mhm.
I do the snakes. I do enjoy snakes, but probably some kind of rare turtle. Yeah, like a sea turtle or something.
A sea
Yeah,
turtle, huh?
something crazy. If you could own them, yeah,
Pretty big container for that.
yeah,
And salt water. We're
yeah.
here in
If you,
Ohio, so we've got water, but there's no salt in it. So
if I lived on the ocean, yeah, that's what I would want. If I lived on the ocean,
what has been the favorite reptile that you've owned over time? Particular specimen or particular pet that you've had that you like the most, or
I have a lot of animals. I wouldn't say there's
Mhm.
nothing my favorite. I like
Mhm.
the IMG boas because they're all black.
Mhm.
I do own some berms, some smaller berms.
Mhm.
I like all boas.
Any other pets that you own besides reptiles?
We have 2 dogs and 4 cats, so they're Australian shepherds, border collies mixes. So
Are those easy
yeah,
to take care of and keep, or
they're really active dogs. Yeah.
Mhm. Are they outdoor dogs? Or are they indoor dogs? Or
No, they stay inside. They're well behaved dogs. They just
Mhm.
run and run and run. So
They're on cue.
yeah,
They're in the background. So, but it was kind of like my Siberian Husky. Probably was all over the house, tore up
yep,
everything, and tried to run and broke
yeah,
off. I had her chained up to a concrete block with a chain in it. She snapped the thing right off the top of the block and ran away. But she always came back. It was
yep,
just a matter that I think she
right.
apparently felt the whole neighborhood was her home, so she was willing to
Hmm.
go anywhere she wanted to go. And she was always looking back to make sure I was following her, but she kept running. So she made it a game out of the
Yeah,
whole thing.
it's about the same thing. Yeah,
Now I've replaced them with 2 Cavachons, which are almost lap dogs, not really lap dogs, but they got out the other day and they were running around, and all I had to do was say, "Goodbye, we want to go bye-bye," and I went to the car. I opened the back of the car. They ran and jumped in. So even though I didn't have
Right.
leaf stuff, so they were jumped in the back of the car. I just closed the door and said, "Okay, we're going." So they were well trained
Right.
in that way. What kind of cats you
Yeah.
have?
Just regular cats.
Mhm.
Nothing special.
Do they get along with the dogs? Are they outside cats? What's the story there?
No, they're all inside. They're all
Mhm.
inside. They all get along well.
So, what would you say the key to breeding the boas is?
I've never produced boas. I've never produced them yet. I produced one. I have an idea on how it works. I own a lot. I kind of just jumped in over my head. I've produced
Mhm.
ball pythons. But yeah, I've never produced boas. I've only produced one, and it didn't make it. So this will be my first year fully breeding boas. So
And ball pythons and boas, any other snakes?
I've produced berms also, berms
Okay.
and retics.
I love the Rita colors, but they get so big. And do you produce the regular ones that get their full size, or you have the dwarf retics? Okay.
I have some, but they're all small. I don't have anything
Mhm.
big right now.
Yeah, because in Ohio it's not illegal, but when you get to 13 feet, you have to actually declare it, and then you're up for inspection. So that kind of puts you under a
Yeah,
thing where you start to think. Even the red eared slider turtles put you in that same category.
which is crazy. They're not even. Yeah, that's
They're not even native. I mean, they're sort of native, but I was talking to Two Turtle Tom on my one of the podcasts, and he said they were just in one lake on the edge of Ohio, and they've kind of infiltrated it from there. But they're not really even native
yeah,
to Ohio. But we keep them as
right.
native turtles. And of course, every turtle that I think is awesome, like painted turtles. There's four painted turtles. There's the East, West, and something, and there's a Midland turtle.
Yeah,
I think the Midland one is
yep.
awesome, but that's one that's also protected
That's
and it
good. Yep.
requires the same type of stuff. So it's kind of like I like the stuff that you can't have. It's not because I can't have it, just because I like it that way. But
The red ear slider stuff is very strange. It just happened recently. I think it was an invasive thing. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's crazy. The native stuff is pretty wild. Most states they don't have laws against it, but we do. So
yeah, Ohio is relatively benign as far as laws for things go, but it's just one of those weird quirks for somebody.
yeah,
Apparently, somebody didn't like them, and if you go to any shelter like Herbs Alive, which is by us, they're full of red sliders, so they don't know what to
yeah,
do with them because no one wants them. So it's kind of crazy,
yep,
but Keith keeps them in line and keeps building bigger and bigger. But apparently, they own the
right.
building now, so it's really a neat situation. So, what else do you want to talk about? You
What did you vend at shows? I know it's a question for you, but what did you do at shows?
I just vended chameleons. I actually had basilisks for
Okay.
somebody else. I vended chameleons, mostly Jacksons, also Hanellis, and that's the only two that I had actually produced and vended that way. I vended for 11 months, Medina. I found that I was selling more chameleons online because of all the things I do than I could sell at the show. And it was 8 hours out of my day that I could to spend, and
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
a
spend
lot.
with my family. And the third thing is I couldn't go through the rest of the show. I was really into making sure that I had the cages correctly and the plants and all that stuff because chameleons are very sensitive, so you have to set them up very, very well. And the other thing is, people
Right.
had not captive, wild caughts, and they were selling for $50. And of course, when I was selling something for $200, $300, they were like, "No, I'm going to do this." They would buy someone else's wild caught, and then it would die because it was wild caught. Then they come to me and get the captive bred one, so I actually got sales from that. So it was a positive in the long run, but it was a lot of time and energy, and maybe someday I'll vend again. But I really love going to all the shows and checking them out and see how they're different. And there's so many shows around here. I haven't even been to half of them, but I
It's getting
enjoy it.
crazy.
So yeah, that's within driving distance. 3 hours is probably 3 to 4 hours what I consider driving distance. If I'm going to go to a 3 or 4 hour way, then I usually stay the night. But 3 or 4 hours away. Going to go to Cincinnati show last weekend, but my back was hurting me, so it was kind of one of those need to nix it at the end. It was the first 2 day show for Sin City, so it was kind of like Oh man, but I've got the
Right.
Pittsburgh show, which is only a couple hours from here, that I'm going to go to next week. It's a 2 day show. Plus, they added saltwater fish, so that'll be
Oh,
awesome.
that's
I'll have to
cool.
talk about that when I get back, and I'm sure I'll put it on the live show and pictures of it and everything. It's crazy because at some point in life, actually, when I was back in medical school or the end of college, I got into saltwater fish, and I had all kinds of stuff because I had a friend who actually had a friend Philippines who was an importer or exporter. So I got fish. We used to go to the airport, pick up a box of miscellaneous fish, and it was kind of like Christmas every time. And we would just sort them out and figure out what we could do. So it was really dirt cheap, and I had a lot of amazing fish. I had no idea what I had at the time. I was 30 years, not even
Right.
30 years old. And I had these incredible fish. I didn't appreciate them as much as I should have.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was because I had fish and I had an iguana and we had a cat and we had one other pet. That's how I got my nickname McZoo, because my wife's parents' friend came over and said, "Hey, you're not McNeely, you're McZoo's," and we're just like, "Okay," and that just caught on. And that was like 30 something years ago. Does that explain your question? Answer your question well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was a great answer. Yeah.
All right. So ask me another question. We can reverse this. What do you want to know about me?
What kind of animals would you like to keep that you don't have?
That I don't have. What animals that I don't have would I like to keep? Well, if it can be any animal, I'd like to keep chickens because you can't keep them in a Fairview Park. I'm going to have to move to do that. And I'd like to keep the mini chickens. Have you ever seen those things? Those are cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I like some other type of iguana, like iguana type species. I've had the green iguanas, red iguanas, blue iguanas. I always have one or two at a time, and I get them from the rescue because nobody wants them when they get too big. But I'd like something like a pectinata, or what else would I like? I'd like to get another green basilic that's captive born, not wild caught. Um, what else? But those need a big, huge enclosure. They need lights and what have you. Our first live show was with oh, what is his name? Eric Haycraft is his name. He had a setup where the lights went on, and they kind of moved to different lighting areas. He had a big water pool for them, which was as big as a 120-gallon tank, and he would feed them all kinds of things like crayfish that he found in the creek. And he's getting all these species within the same category that the basilics are in. So he almost has them all. There's only 7 of them, so it's not like chameleons. There's 220 of them or something like that. So it's kind of like something that you can't even if you got the ones that you could get here in Ohio, it would still be a ton of chameleons. So I don't think I could do that. I see every time I ask this question, it's just my mood. I love everything. I can't make a decision.
Right.
I would love to be in a pet store where I just had the pets. I would keep them for a couple months and then sell them to somebody, so that I know that people think that, well, there's no connection there, but they're not like dogs. It's not like I'm like, oh, I'm going to miss that particular reptile. It's just I'd love to have them for a while, figure out what they're like, maybe a year or two for some of them, and figure out what they're like, end up breeding them a little bit, and then move on to the next pet. So I think that's a little fickle of me, but that's a cool way of going about it. I just haven't figured out how to do it, and my day job keeps me busy. It's one of those things that I don't have the time. Maybe someday when I retire, if I ever retire, but I love my day job, so may never retire.
That's good. Yeah.
Hmm? Any other questions you have for me now that we reversed this interview?
No, I think that's it. I think those are
Okay.
2 good ones.
Please join our Facebook group, Reptile Show Reporter, pictured here. Thanks.